Hello everyone! So I will be picking up in this video on the next chapters in The Rise of Nine by Pittacus Lore. I'm so happy that everybody had like a really good reaction to the new book that I'm reading, and so I mean, like I said, it's a book, and if you don't want to listen, you don't have to. You can listen to something else, and if you do, then that's great. And I will be reading more of each book that I'm reading on my channel currently today and posting them. And thank you all for your comments. I will be getting back to them today or tomorrow, so don't think I forgot about you, because I haven't. Alright, without further ado, this is Reading by Ree, The Rise of Nine by Pittacus Lore. We will be starting on Chapter 14. I pull my hoodie up over my head and hunch my shoulders. Nine's wearing a dirty Cubs cap and cracked sunglasses, items he found in the train yard where we jumped off. After an hour's walk south, we're standing against the wall of a platform, waiting for another train. This one is elevated. The L, as Chicagoans call it. The chests in our arms stands out against the other passengers' briefcases and backpacks, and I do my best to act casual. Bernie Kosar sleeps comfortably inside my shirt, now a chameleon. Nine is still kind of pissed that I was skeptical that anyone would put a safe house in such a densely populated area. I know Henry would never have chosen such an exposed place. We don't speak as the train rumbles into the station. Bells chime, the doors slide open, and Nine leads me into the last car. When the train pulls away, we watch the city of Chicago slowly grow closer. Just enjoy the view for now, Nine says. He looks more and more at peace the closer we get to the city. I'll tell you more when we get off. I've never been to Chicago before. We pass what feels like 1,000,000 apartment buildings and houses as we clatter through the different neighborhoods. The streets below are full of cars, trucks, people, dogs being walked, babies being pushed in strollers. Everyone looks so happy and safe. I can't help but wish I were one of them. Just going to work or school, maybe for a walk with Sarah to get a cup of coffee. A normal life. Such a simple idea, but it's almost impossible for me to picture. The train stops. People stream off, and others push to get on. The train gets so crowded that two girls, a blonde and a brunette, are forced to stand practically leaning over us. Like I said, Nine says, smiling happily, just enjoy the view. After a few minutes, the blonde kicks the chest under my feet. Ow! Jeez, guys! What's with the ginormous boxes? Vacuum cleaners. I'm nervous, and Nine's story from the other night is the first thing that pops into my mind. We're a salesman. Really? The brunette asks. She looks disappointed. I sag a bit. Even I'm a bit disappointed in my fictional life. Nine takes off his cracked sunglasses and elbows me in the ribs. That was a joke. My friend here, he thinks he's so funny. Actually, we work for an art collector, and we're taking these artifacts down to the Art Institute of Chicago. Oh yeah? The blonde asks. The two girls glance at each other and look pleased. As she turns back to us, she tucks her hair behind her ear. I'm a student here, there. Seriously? Nine says with a pleased smile. The brunette bends down, looking curiously at the intricate carvings on the lid of my chest. I hate that she's so close to it. So, what's inside? Pirate treasure? We should not be talking to them. We shouldn't be talking to anyone. We're no longer just teenagers trying to blend in with the humans around us. We are alien fugitives who just destroyed a fleet of government vehicles. There's a bounty on my head, and I bet they're putting one together for Nine right now. We should be hiding in the middle of nowhere, back in Ohio, or even out west. Anywhere but sitting on a packed train in the middle of Chicago, flirting with girls. I open my mouth to say that the chests are empty, to make them stop asking questions and leave us alone, but Nine talks first. Maybe my friend and I could swing by your place later this evening. We'd love to show you what's inside them. Why don't you just show us now? The brunette asks with a pout. Nine looks left and then right. He's really hamming it up. Because I don't trust you yet. You two are kind of, suspicious, you know that, right? Two beautiful girls like you're right out of a spy movie. He winks at me. It suddenly dawns on me he's just as bad around girls as I am. He overcompensates and looks kind of ridiculous doing it. It makes me like him more, even if he's totally embarrassing us both. The girls look at each other and smile. The blonde digs into her purse, scrawls something on a scrap of paper, and hands it to him. The next stop is ours. Give me a call after 7 and we'll think about hooking up with you guys somewhere later. I'm Nora. I'm stunned. His stunt worked. I'm Sarah, the brunette says. Of course, that's her name. I shake my head. If that isn't a blinking sign that we must end this conversation now, I don't know what is. 9 reaches his hand out to shake theirs. I'm Tony, and this handsome stud next to me is Donald. I clench my teeth and give them a polite wave. Donald? Cool, Nora says. Well, we'll talk to you later. The train stops and they get off. 9 leans over and waves to them through the window. After the train pulls out of the station, 9 chuckles to himself. He's looking very smug. I elbow him in the ribs. Are you nuts? Why would you deliberately draw that kind of attention to yourself, to us? You had no right to drag me into your stupidity. And why in the world would you do anything to encourage them to look at our chests? Let's hope any girl stupid enough to buy your crap is too stupid to think too hard about any of it. I liked him a whole lot better when he just looked like a loser. Calm down, Donald. You think you could keep your voice from squeaking so loud? It's no big deal. Nothing's going to happen to us here. He leans back, hands folded behind his head. When he speaks again, though, he doesn't sound so puffed up. Sandra would have been so damn proud of me just now, you know? I bet you'd never know it, but normally I'm crazy nervous around girls, and the more I like them, the worse it is. No more. After what I've been through this past year, really, nothing scares me anymore. I don't respond. I slump down in my seat and watch the city get taller and taller, the architecture more interesting. There are playhouses, shops, and beautiful restaurants all wrapped in glass. Some of the buildings shine so brightly in the sun, I have to shield my eyes. Cars clog the roads below us, their honks reaching us up on the track. No place could be more different from Paradise, Ohio. Our train stops and starts up again, though, through 2 more stations. Then 9 tells me to stand. That we're up next. A minute later, we're walking east on Chicago Avenue, each of us carrying our chest under an arm. Lake Michigan is straight ahead. When the crowd around us thins, 9 says, Sander loved Chicago. And he thought it was smart to hide in plain sight in a city like this. No chance of sticking out, always a crowd to disappear into, that kind of thing. I mean, think about it. Where are you more anonymous than in a busy city? Henry would never have allowed it. Being in a city like this would have freaked him out. He hated being anywhere he couldn't keep an eye on anyone who might have an eye on us, on me. And that's why Sander was the best C-Pan that ever lived. He had rules, of course. First, and most important, don't be stupid. 9 sighs. Amazingly, he has no idea how infuriating, how insulting this talk about Sander is. I'm pissed, and I don't care who knows it. Oh yeah? If Sander was so great, why did I find you in a Mogadorian prison cell? I feel horrible the minute I say it. 9 misses Sander, and we're in the last place they spent real time together, where Sander told 9 he was safe. I know how powerful that kind of assurance is. 9 stops dead, right in the middle of a busy corner with people streaming past us. He steps up to me until our noses are inches apart. His fists are clenched, not to mention his teeth. You found me in that cell because I made a mistake. It was my mistake, not Sander's. And you know what? Where's your C-Pan? You think yours was so much better than mine? Wake up, idiot! They're both dead. So I really doubt one was so much better than the other. I feel bad for what I said, but I'm sick of 9 trying to bully me. I push him away. Back off, 9. Just back off. And stop talking to me like I'm your little brother. The light changes, and we cross the street, both of us fuming. I follow him onto Michigan Avenue, and we walk in silence. At first, I'm too angry to pay attention to my surroundings. But slowly, I become aware of the skyscrapers above me. I can't help it. The city is awesome. I look around. 9 sees me admiring the city, his city, and I can feel his mood softening. You see that big one? That big black one with the white spires on top? 9 asks. He looks so happy to see this building, I forget I'm pissed at him. I look straight up. That's the John Hancock Center. It's the sixth tallest building in the country. And that, little brother, is where we're headed. I snatch him by the arm and pull him to the side of the sidewalk. Wait a minute. That's your safe house? One of the tallest buildings in the city is where you think we're going to hide? You've got to be kidding. You've got to be kidding me. That's nuts. 9 laughs at the incredulous look on my face. I know. It was Sanders' idea. The more I think about it, the more brilliant I realize he was. We stayed here for over 5 years. No problems. Hiding in plain sight, baby. Hiding in plain sight. Right. Are you forgetting about the part where you got caught? We are not staying there, 9. Not a chance in hell. We need to go back to the train, figure out a new plan. 9 rips his arm out of my grip. We got caught, Donald, because of someone I thought was my friend. She'd been working with the Mogs and I was too stupid to notice. She betrayed me and I couldn't see beyond her nice ass, so Sander was captured. I watched him being tortured, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. The one person I loved more than anyone in the world. In the end, the only thing I could do for Sander was put him out of his agony. Death, the gift that keeps on giving. His sneer can't hide the pain in his face. Fast forward 1 year, and I see your ugly face outside my prison cell. He points up at the John Hancock Center. Up there, we were safe. It's the safest place you'll ever be. We'll be trapped, I say. If the Mogs find us up there, there's nowhere to run. Oh, you'd be surprised. He winks and then walks towards the building. All of a sudden, I'm very conscious of just how many people are going by us. I'm nervous as hell, without a single clue where else I should be or go. One thing I know for sure, the Mogadorians keep getting better at blending in, so I have zero confidence we'd even know if one just brushed by. This thought terrifies me so much I literally twitch as it occurs to me. And I have to assume there are thousands of cameras all over Chicago, and with the Mogs and the government working together, the Mogs probably have access to them. Great. We're on some predatory, candid camera, and there's nothing we can do about it. Inside, anywhere inside, is going to be safer than standing around out here. I put my head down and follow 9. The lobby is amazingly luxurious. There's a grand piano, leather furniture, and sparkly chandeliers. At the far end, I see 2 security desks. 9 hands me his chest and takes off his cap. One of the security guards is a large, bald guy who is seated behind the desk until, that is, he sees 9. Then he lets out a howl and leaps to his feet. Hey! Will you look at who the cat dragged in? You don't write, you don't call. Where the heck have you been? The man asks, shaking 9's hand, his other hand clutching his arm. He just stands there, beaming at 9. The long-lost son returns and all that, I guess. 9 is grinning at him with real affection and puts his other hand on the man's shoulder. Oh, I think a better question is where haven't I been? Next time, tell us where you're taking off. I worry. Now, where's that uncle of yours? He looks over 9's shoulder as if expecting Sander to come up behind him. 9 doesn't miss a beat. Europe. France, actually. No flinch. Nothing. He's good. I know how hard this must be for him. You got some kind of visiting teaching gig? Yep, 9 says. He nods at me. It's a long gig. He's thinking about maybe even taking a permanent spot, so I've been staying with my friend Donald on the south side. We need to hang upstairs for a while so we can work on a history project. Check out these boxes, man. We have work to last us months. I look down at the chest in my arms, and the security guard stands aside and lets us walk past. Sounds like you guys have yourselves a plan. Hey, nice to meet you, Donald. Good luck with your project. Same here, I say, and thanks. I'm trying to sound friendly, but it's hard. 9 is clearly fine with this guy, knowing his comings and goings, noticing his absence, setting up a lie it might be hard to back up later on. But I hear Henry's voice in my head warning me this is the exact opposite of what we should be doing. I try to shake off the nerves making my stomach do flips. Second-guessing things won't help. We make our way to a small elevator bank, and 9 presses a number. The light above one of the sets of elevator doors brightens with a big arrow pointing up. Oh, hey, Stanley. The security officer jogs over as we are about to step through the elevator doors, his keys jingling on his belt. I look at 9 with a smirk. Stanley, I mouth. That's worse than Donald. Not now, he mumbles back. I've got a bunch of packages for you. We've been holding them in storage. We didn't know where you were, and you didn't leave a forwarding address. You want me to send them up? Give us an hour to settle in first, okay? 9 asks. Absolutely, boss. The guard salutes as we step into the elevator. Once the doors are closed, I feel Bernie Kosar crawl from one of my shoulders to the other, and back again. He tells me he's tired of hiding. Just a few more minutes. I say. Yeah, BK, 9 says. We're just about home. Finally. How could you be so confident this place would be yours to come back to? I mean, you've been gone a really long time. There seems to be no situation, no idea that makes 9 second guess what he believes. I wish I could be like that. Even if he isn't always right, it makes for a great team member and an even better warrior. Sander set everything up. Payments for this place are made automatically from his account. We always kept things pretty vague about what he did, and we referred to his teaching gigs the other times when we went away for months. Clearly, people bought it. 9 presses a series of numbers into a small keypad below the floor numbers, and the elevator rockets upwards. The numbers increase so fast I barely have time to think about how high we're going. We pass the 80th floor and then start to slow down. We come to a stop and the doors open silently, and we step directly into an apartment. I look up at the huge crystal chandelier hanging above 2 couches in the living room. Everything seems to be bright white with gold trim. This is your apartment? You can't be serious, I say. Yup. We've got our own private entrance, he says in response to my amazed look. I thought only people on TV lived like this. It's completely boggling my mind that this place belongs to a guard member. I see a camera in the upper right-hand corner of the room, pointed our way, and instantly shield my face. But 9 explains it's a closed-circuit camera that can be monitored only from inside the apartment. After you, he says, bowing low and sweeping his arm in welcome with an exaggerated flourish. I can't believe you guys have the whole floor, I say, looking around with my mouth agape. I hear 9's hand slide along the wall as he says, 2 whole floors, as a matter of fact. 9 hits another switch and dozens of dark shades rise to reveal floor-to-ceiling windows. The room is bathed in sunlight. Bernie Kosar leaps out of my jacket and turns into a beagle. I walk over to the window and look out at the view. It's incredible. The whole city of Chicago is spread out below, like Michigan is a sheet of bright blue on the left. Lake Michigan is a sheet of bright blue on the left. I set my chest on a plush recliner and place my forehead against the window. As I look down on the roofs of the other buildings, I hear something start to whir in the apartment behind me, then feel a whoosh of fresh air from the vents near my feet. Hey, you hungry? 9 asks. Sure, I say. It's weird, but from this height, everything looks fake. The cars, the boats on the water, the trains snaking around on the elevated tracks. To my surprise, I do feel safe. I mean, really safe. I actually feel as if nothing can touch me, get me up here. It's been a long time since I felt this way. It's almost strange. I hear the door to a refrigerator open. I'm so psyched to finally relax, 9 calls from the kitchen. Hey, make yourself at home, take a shower, eat some frozen pizza. We have time to chill, sleep, before it's time to call those girls. When was the last time you could say any of that? Man, it is good to be home. It's hard to turn away from the view. It's kind of mesmerizing. I want to just stand here, right here in this spot, and enjoy feeling safe. The only thing better would be if Henry and Sarah and Sam and Six were here with me. Something soft and crinkly hits the back of my head, an energy bar. Let me show you around. 9's giddy, like he's psyched to show off his toys. I munch on the bar as we walk through a living room filled with plush couches and leather recliners. A giant flat-screen television hangs above a marble fireplace, and on the glass coffee table stands a vase of fake orchids. There's a layer of dust on every surface. 9 says he'll get a cleaning service up to deal with it as he runs a finger over one particularly well-coated table. In the hallway, he opens the first door on the right. My jaw drops. Standing there are 2 huge Mogadorian soldiers with alabaster skin and long black hair, wearing black trench coats. They stand just inside, guns posed, and ready to shoot. The weeks of training with Six and Sam surge through my brain, and I rush the closest one to duck under his cannon. Then I deliver an uppercut to his chin and follow that with a thrust kick to his abdomen. The Mog is stunned and falls straight backwards. I look around for something to stab him with, but all I see are free weights and punching gloves. That's when 9 runs in and playfully kicks the other Mogadorian in the groin before flicking its nose. His Mog wobbles on its heels before tipping sideways. It takes one more second before I realize these are just dummies. 9 doubles over, and when he finally catches his breath, he slaps my back. My, those are some fine reflexes, he howls. My cheeks are blazing hot. You could have warned me. Are you kidding? I've been thinking about doing that to you since we got on the L. Man, that was great. Bernie Kosar enters the room and sniffs at the rubber feet of the Mogadorian I leveled. He looks up at me. They're for training, BK, 9 says, chest puffed proudly, sweeping an arm out wide. We call it the lecture hall. I take my first real look around. It's a huge, empty room. On the far end, there's a control panel, like a cockpit. 9 walks over and sits at the console and starts flicking switches and typing in commands. From the walls, the ceiling, and the floor, combat situations and weapons. He spins a chair around to face me, eager to see how impressed I am. I'm immediately jealous of the time he must have spent here, and it shows. I raise my eyes to the ceiling. I can't even find the words. It makes me embarrassed about what I've been doing all this time. My so-called training space was the snow in my backyard or with Six and Sam at the pool. Suddenly, I'm resentful about Henry moving us around so often, not giving me the kind of training I clearly needed to do my part. If we had made a place like this, then maybe I would be as confident and strong as 9. Maybe Sander really was the better C-Pan. You haven't seen the best part yet, 9 says. We move through the training room, and he spins open a vault-like door in the back. There are shelves and shelves of weapons, guns, swords, knives, explosives, and more. There's a whole wall just for ammunition. 9 pulls a large automatic rifle, topped with a scope, off a shelf and aims it at me. You'd be surprised how easy it was to buy all this stuff. Gotta love the internet. He walks towards me with the gun and pushes a button over my shoulder. The far end of the room separates to uncover a firing range longer than a bowling alley. 9 grabs a box of bullets and loads the rifle. Then I watch as he blows to bits a paper target 90 feet away. Don't worry. These rooms are pretty well soundproofed, but we're so high up that no one could hear us anyway. A door down the hall leads to a surveillance room. He walks up to a light switch near the front door and flicks the switch while leaning down and placing his face close to it. A faint blue light scrolls over his eyes and the computers come to life. Retinal scan. Cool. Very cool. Clearly, Sander was able to set up a high-tech security system. There are 12 computers and even more monitors. We're tapped into every camera in the John Hancock Center, all 100 floors of it, plus what seems to be every camera around the city that's controlled by the Chicago Police Department. 9 touches something on a keyboard, and the largest screen in the room comes to life, showing a photo of a muscular man in a black Italian suit, its beautiful cloth and perfect cut apparent even in the grainy picture. He has black hair and a thick beard, and he is holding 2 laptops. I look at 9, wondering why he's showing me this. That's Sander, 9 says after a minute. His voice is different. I hear less bravado. He turns to me. I hear vulnerability. Come on. You have a decision to make, an important one. He pauses for dramatic effect. Which room will you choose to stay in? There are a few of them to check out. Take your time. The pizzas won't take long. Okay, that was the end of Chapter 14. Chapter 15. Let's see how long it is. Okay. Chapter 15. Crayton steps between Marina and Ella to get a closer view of the lines carved into the mountainside. He presses his palm in the center of the outlined door, then pulls his hand away. That's interesting. It's warm. And what exactly do you mean when you say it's a door to the far corners of the earth? Here's the deal, Aide explains. At best, I can teleport 200 feet, maybe 250. And the further I go, the worse my accuracy is. One time, I was aiming for a treetop a couple 100 feet away, and I landed in between a mountain lion and her cubs. That got ugly fast. This teleporting legacy is truly brilliant, and has been incredibly useful so many times. But it's not as easy as it looks. From inside this cave, though, I can teleport around the world. I place my hands on the mountainside, and I can feel the warmth move through me. How? 8 moves out of the way, so Ella and Marina can touch the door. My best guess is that this is an ancient Lorik cave, or maybe one of the Lorik headquarters, and I was just lucky enough to find it, and I was even luckier to figure out what I could do here. Whatever it was, I'm definitely not the first Lorik to visit this place. His words are barely out of his mouth when I feel a surge of adrenaline and fear shoot through me. I know Crayton has the same thoughts when he whips his head back to look in the direction we came from, and then over at me. I do what he's about to ask and move quickly down the passage, listening for movement. If this is an ancient Lorik cave, it would have been under surveillance by the Mogadorians. There could be soldiers waiting for us or devices set to alert them about our arrival. I turn to 8. Are you out of your mind? Have you completely lost it? Actually, maybe we're the ones who've lost our minds. We're the idiots who blindly followed you to a known Lorik hideout. This place could be crawling with traps. As what I've just said sinks in, Marina and Ella move closer to us. Hey, look, I'm sorry, 8 says, dropping his chest. I've been here so many times without anything happening that I didn't think there was any risk. Let's not waste time apologizing or criticizing, Marina says, stepping forward. Just show us how to open it up so we can get to the rest of the world, or at least someplace else. Crayton nods, still glancing around suspiciously. Yes, let's get in there, where we're less vulnerable. 8 pulls his pendant over his head. He reaches up to the blue triangle. Wait till you see what's next, he says, smiling. Then he holds his pendant to the blue triangle. Nothing happens at first, but after a tense moment, the carved lines begin to deepen and spread towards each other. 8 lets the pendant drop down to his chest. Dust shoots into the passage, and we move back a few feet. When all the lines touch and there is a perfect outline of a door, the right edge separates from the face of the cavern and swings open. A blast of warm air hits us, and we all stand still, mesmerized by a blue glow coming from inside. The energy I feel coursing through me is overwhelming, and I become completely and utterly calm. What's the blue light? I finally ask. That's what makes me able to teleport around the world, 8 responds, as if this were the simplest concept to grasp. Ella walks towards the opening. I feel weird inside. Marina says, Me too. With a smile, 8 ducks through the doorway. Crayton and Ella are quick to follow. I bring up the rear as we climb up another staircase. 8 talks. A couple years ago, as my legacies grew, I started having these very vivid dreams, like the ones I'm having now with Citrakas Ra and 4. I learned more about Lorien and about the Elders, learned about our history here on Earth, how we helped the Egyptians build the pyramids, how the Greek gods were actually Lorik, how we taught the Romans military strategy, and so on. In one of the dreams, there was all this stuff about moving around on Earth and how the Lorik used to do it. This mountain was in my dream. We'd already moved to India and I recognized it. After the dream, I came up here and started looking around. That's when I found all of this. That's amazing, says Marina. The stairs end in another room. The ceiling is domed and several jagged columns hold it up. I realize we're inside the peak of the mountain. The room is empty except at its very center, where an intricate set of rocks form a whirlpool-like pattern, radiating out from one central blue stone that's the size of a basketball. Lorelite, Crayton whispers. He walks towards the center of the cave and sets Marina's chest down. That is the biggest Lorelite stone I've ever seen. Is the Lorelite the reason you can go anywhere you want? Marina asks, turning to 8. Well, that's the thing, 8 says. I can't go anywhere I want. More like 6 or 7 far-off places. It took a lot of messing around and landing places I didn't mean to before I figured out I can only teleport where there's another one of these big Lorelite rocks around. So where can we go? I ask. Well, so far I've gone to Peru, to Easter Island, to Stonehenge, the Gulf of Aden near Somalia, but I really don't recommend that one for a lot of reasons. And I've ended up in the desert in New Mexico. New Mexico? I say, immediately turning to Crayton. If we go there, we could be across the country and with John in less than a day. We know we can move around easily once we are in the U.S. Crayton walks over to the wall, looking around at some markings on it. Wait, you're saying you can't control where you go? That's not as promising as I had hoped. No, but if we end up somewhere besides New Mexico, if that's where we want to go, we just teleport again until we get there. It's not so bad, Aid says. And do you know if you can take all of us with you? I ask. If it's anything like my legacy of invisibility, we may have a problem. I can only turn other people invisible if they're holding my hands. I don't know, to be honest. I've never tried to bring anyone else, Aid admits. Maybe you can take 2 trips, Marina suggests. These drawings are amazing, Crayton interrupts, motioning us over to the cave walls. Maybe there are some clues for us here. He's right. The orange walls are covered with hundreds of symbols, paintings, and carvings, reaching as high as the very tip of the dome. I walk over and my eyes are drawn to a faint green painting of a planet. Instantly, I know it's Lorien, and a lump catches in my throat. Below it, scratched in blue, is a female figure standing over a male, and both are holding sleeping babies. Rays of interrupted white lines come off the bottom of Lorien, ending just above the 4 figures. Carved next to the female's head in a different drawing style are 3 columns of alien symbols. What the hell? I whisper, confused. A few feet to my left is a simple black sketch of a triangular spaceship. There are intricate spirals and symbols on its wings and a tiny, swirling constellation of stars on the blunt nose. 8 walks up next to me and points to the constellation. Do you see? It's the same pattern as the stones in here. I turn around to compare. He's right. Immediately, I wish Katerina were here to see all this. I wonder if she even knew about it. I turn to Crayton, who is examining drawings on the ceiling. Did you know about any of this? I ask. We left Lorien in a very big hurry. The planet was under attack from the Mogadorians. We didn't have time to gather as much information as we could have, or should have. We knew places like this existed, but no one knew exactly where they were or what they did. Clearly, for all the information we did manage to gather before we left, there were important things that we didn't get, he explains. Follow me, everybody. 8 calls out, gesturing for us to follow his lead towards a dark corner of the room. It just gets weirder and weirder. He stops in front of a huge carving. It is 10 feet high and 20 feet long, split into different scenes, kind of like a comic book. The first panel shows a spaceship with 9 children standing in front of it. Their faces are drawn with detail, and I'm able to pick myself out immediately. The sight of me as a toddler rocks me back on my heels. Was this here when you first saw the cave? Crayton turns away from the wall to ask Abe. Yes, he responds. All of this was here, just as you see it now. Who could have done it? Marina asks, looking up and down the wall, her voice filled with awe. I don't know. Crayton stands with his hands on his hips, examining the wall. It's disconcerting to see him look so confused. The next panel shows a dozen dark figures that I can only assume as Mogadorians. They hold swords and guns, and the figure in the middle is twice the size of the others, Sitrekas Ra. The Mog's tiny eyes and straight mouths are so accurate, so lifelike, I feel shivers run down my back. My eyes move right, and the next scene shows a girl lying in a pool of blood. I compare her face to those in the first panel, and it's obviously number 1. Number 2, also a girl, but younger than 1, is also down, under the foot of a Mogadorian, dead. My stomach turns when I see number 3, a boy, impaled by a sword in a jungle. The last panel in the top row shows number 4, running from 2 Mogadorian soldiers, jumping over a ray that's been shot from one of their guns. I gasp involuntarily. In the background is a large building on fire. Holy shit! That's John's school, I say, pointing to the last panel. What is? Marina asks. I stab at the wall with my finger. That fire at John's school after we fought the Mogadorians. I was there. This is John's school. Is that you in the sky, then? I look closer and see a small figure with long hair hovering over the school. Okay, that is really freaky. Yes, I don't understand. How did anyone... Look, is this number 5? Ella interrupts, pointing at the first box of the bottom row. Standing on the top of a pine tree is a figure throwing something down at 3 Mogadorians on the ground. This is incredible. Everything is here. It's all laid out, Crayton says. Someone foresaw it all. But who? I ask. Oh no, I hear Marina whisper. Who's that? Who else dies? I skim quickly over the next 2 panels where we start to come together to one that shows Marina and me standing next to a lake, and I see John running out of the mouth of a cave with another person. I don't know who it is. Maybe Sam. I can't tell because the boy's head is turned away. Then my eyes reach the panel Marina's looking at. With his or her arms out, a guard is standing with a sword plunged all the way through its body. It's impossible to identify who it is because the face has been chipped away from the wall. Right below it on the floor are pieces of stone. What the hell is going on here? I ask. Why is only that face missing? Aid is silent, head down. Did you do that? Nobody can dictate what's going to happen, he says. So you thought you'd just destroy it? To do what exactly? Make it less true? I didn't know what any of this was. I didn't know any of you. I thought it was a story, at least until... Is it me? Marina interrupts. Am I the one who dies? I have the same question. Am I the one with a sword through me? It's a chilling thought. We're all going to die someday, Marina, 8 says in a strange voice. Ella scoops up the pieces of rock and studies them, turning them over. Crayton steps in front of 8. Just because you destroyed it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Withholding the information from us does not make it more or less true or destined to happen. Are you going to tell us who it is? I didn't bring you all the way in here to examine a chipped section of the wall, 8 says. You guys need to keep looking. Look at the last 2 panels. He has our attention again. We are not going to do anyone any good getting caught up on which of us gets killed with a sword. We turn our attention back to the wall. In the panel 8 is now pointing at, Sithrekis Ra is lying on the ground with a sword held to his throat. The figure holding the sword is impossible to make out. On both sides of him, Mogadorians lie dead. In the last panel, there's an odd-looking planet cut in half. The top part looks like Earth, and I can see Europe and Russia, but the bottom half of the planet is covered in long, bumpy stripes. It looks dead and barren. A small ship approaches the top half of the planet from the left, and another small ship is approaching the bottom half from the right. I'm trying to figure out what this means when I hear Ella gasp. It's 8! We all twist around to see her holding the pieces of stone from the floor up to the guard member's missing face. She managed to put the puzzle pieces back together. Number 8 dies in the picture. It doesn't mean anything, he says firmly. Marina gently places her hand on his arm. Hey, it's just a drawing. You're right, Crayton says softly. It is just a drawing. 8 pulls away from Marina, circling back to the center of the cave. The rest of us are still rooted to our spots in front of the massive wall that tells stories no one should or could possibly know. Someone has predicted 8's death. Given the accuracy of the other panels, it's hard to come up with a convincing argument for only this one being wrong. No wonder he's always joking around. Why he acts as if he has reason not to be quite as careful as the rest of us. He's trying to hide from fate, maybe fly in the face of it. I look back over the last 2 panels. At first, I'm relieved to see Sithrekis Ra with a sword to his throat, but the fact that he's still alive in the picture pisses me off. And what does the last panel even mean? It's showing a confrontation so clearly still in progress, the outcome unclear. And why is the planet cut in half? What is it saying will happen? Crayton picks up Marina's chest, walks towards 8 and puts his arm around him. He starts speaking quietly. What do you think he's telling him? What What can you tell him that would make him feel better? Marina whispers, turning to me. Just as I'm about to go join Crayton in comforting 8, an explosion rocks the cave, and a wave of fire enters the door. Marina grabs my arm as I hear Ella scream across the room. Then jagged columns holding the ceiling up crack up and begin to sway and break. A large section falls towards Ella, and I use my mind to shield her, propelling the crumbling stone away from her. I look over as Crayton and 8 just as 8 disappears. What's happening? Marina screams, using her telekinesis to shield the two of us from the falling debris while I protect Ella. I don't know, I say frantically, trying to see through the smoke and dust. Suddenly, 8 reappears in the middle of the room. Blood flows from a wound in his side, his face ashen. The Mogadorians, he shouts. They're here. Okay, that was the end of chapter 15. We'll pick back up in the next video on chapter 16 in The Rise of 9 by Pittacus Lore. I hope you guys are really liking it and enjoying it. Things are going to start to get pretty intense going forward. So hold on to your seats. This is going to get crazy. Alright. So that's it for this video. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Leave me a comment below. Hit that thumbs up button. And hit the notification bell so you can get more videos every time I post them. Okay. Alright. Bye for now. Reading by Ree.